G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Cody and today I will be doing a comparison video of my round 1 NRL fixture 2023 that I created about 3 weeks ago and comparing it to the actual round 1 NRL draw for 2023 season. If you haven't seen my round 1 fixture video, I will have a link in the description below so you can check it out, but if you don't understand what I'm talking about in this video today. The 2023 NRL draw came out a couple of days ago, and with round 1, I think round 1 is okay, but while I'm comparing with my one that I created 3 weeks ago, it was completely different. So in today's video we're going to go over my one that I created and the actual round 1 NRL draw. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. So I will have the teams that I said in my video at the bottom of each image, while the actual teams will be in the above picture. So let's get into the video. The season opener, so the Thursday night game. So I had Eels and Sharks as the season opener for my one, and in the actual round 1 draw, it's Eels versus Storm for the season opener. I got the Eels correct, shockingly, out of all teams to start the season. I was pretty damn surprised. So only Sharks and Melbourne I got wrong, but that's okay. The second game, so the Warriors and Knights start off as the second game, and for my one I put it as the Broncos and the Dolphins. Now initially in my one I had it as a 7:30 or 8 o'clock game because I thought they would have scrapped the 6 PM game for Fridays and put the 6:15 in round 1 along with the 2 o'clock game. Obviously that's not the case, so for the rest of them I'll just say in the actual time slots from the actual draw, just letting everyone know. Warriors versus Knights. I think Warriors having 6 PM makes sense because in New Zealand it starts 2 hours later at 8 PM their time, but against the Newcastle Knights in New Zealand I think I would have had it against someone else, but can't really change it. But for the Broncos and Dolphins for my one, everyone initially thought they would start in round 1 or play in round 1. That's not the case. The Dolphins are getting the same treatment as Gold Coast Titans did in 2007. So Titans played the Dragons the first round in 2007, while the Dolphins are playing the Roosters for their first game in 2023. Pretty interesting, but this one was a bit bleh. The third game, Panthers versus Broncos. I think that's a bit random for a Friday night game, and the Premiers to go against the team who came in 9th place. And for my one, the Warriors versus Bulldogs. This was initially a 3 PM afternoon Saturday game. That would, regardless with the Warriors versus Bulldogs for my one, it wouldn't be too bad. It wouldn't be a bad game. I think it would be an okay game. But the Panthers and Broncos for round 1, I think that's a bit random, as most people have said. The fourth game, the actual one, Manly versus Bulldogs, and then in my one, the Roosters versus Cowboys. Now Manly versus Bulldogs, that's an okay game, but for a 3 PM game it's going to be a bit warm, as it's normally a bit warm and humid around the start of March for Sydney. And for the Roosters versus Cowboys for my one, that would have been like one of the games of the round if that was one of the games to start round 1. But regardless, I think both of these games would have gone well anyway. The fifth game for round 1, the actual one, Cowboys versus Raiders, and for my one, Dragons versus Knights. I'll start off with my one. Now, Dragons versus Knights, if that was going to happen in round 1, probably would have been a bit of a boring game, as they both finished outside the top 8 in 2022. While with Cowboys and Raiders, the Raiders love to travel, but I think Cowboys versus Raiders would be alright to start the season. Probably not one of the better games, but you never know what to expect. And for the Dragons and Knights, like I said, for my one, would have been one of the more boring games, but I'm glad that didn't start off round 1. The sixth game for round 1, the actual one, Sharks versus Rabbitohs, and my one, Manly versus Titans. Now initially for my one, this was going to be the shittest game of the round because it's the Gold Coast Titans, because they're shit. And Manly, well, they're looking to improve next year, and I'm hoping they do. So I reckon this would have been the worst game, and Manly would have had a flogging. Sorry, Manly would have flogged the Gold Coast Titans. With the Rabbitohs and Sharks, complete opposite. Now, I reckon this is one of the only good games to start in the actual round one draw. Especially now we eliminated them in the finals this year. But overall, great game for round 6. Sorry, round 1, game 6, Sharks versus Rabbitohs. But if it was my way, Manly Titans, most boring shittest game of round 1. 7th game of round 1, Dolphins versus Roosters, and my one, Panthers versus Raiders. Now, Dolphins versus Roosters was rumored to be at least to be in the first round, and they got it correct because they're playing for, I believe it's Arthur Benson Cup. I believe, I'm not too sure if that's the case. Comment down below if that's correct. But Dolphins versus Broncos, everyone wanted them to play in round 1, but it's a couple rounds away. But overall, Dolphins versus Roosters, I think that's a good choice because Roosters are the oldest club. Because the Rabbitohs got kicked out for 2 years, remember that? But so it's the oldest team versus the newcomers. It's the same for the Titans versus Dragons from round 1 in 2007, and along with Panthers versus Raiders for my season, I think this would have been an alright game. Could have been a flogging. It was just to see how Penrith would go as they've lost 2 key players, Aparai Coruscant and Vilmi Kikau, to the Bulldogs and the Tigers respectively. But overall, for both of them, if it was true or not, I think both of these would have been good games. The 8th and final game of round 1. Now, for my one first, I think Rabbitohs versus Melbourne, if it was true. I know we're playing round 5, but if it was round 1, I think this would have been a great way to end round 1. But for the actual one, the Tigers versus Titans, it's a shit way to end round 1, as both of these teams both finished in the bottom 4 this year. I guess just get the shit games out of the way, but not for round 1. Overall, the last game, Rabbitohs versus Melbourne for my one, would have been great, but for the actual one, Tigers and Titans, it's terrible way to end round 1. And for the buys, so the Dragons have got the buy for round 1 for 2023. And for my season, I had the West Tigers. For my round 1, I had the West Tigers. I had them as round 1 bye because majority of everyone wanted to have the bye in the first round because we didn't know how it would start off with. Obviously, 8 teams playing, with one team having the bye. But the Dragons have got the bye for round 1, and as the Tigers are playing the Titans, would not have mattered anyway. But I think Dragons having a bye in round 1, it's a questionable one. But with the stuff they're going for at the moment, I think it's understandable. Tigers, because they finished last, they should have got the bye and started to play in round 2. But overall, I think the byes are alright. Anyways, everyone, that will come towards the end of this video. Overall, doing this round 1 fixture was fun. I'm surprised I actually managed to get one team correct, like to start the season opener, but just 2 different teams, the Eagles. That was pretty surprising, but overall, I was pretty happy with my one. For me, I wanted it to be a blockbuster round 1, get a lot of good games, and then 1 or 2 shit games. But for round 1, there's only 2 good games. That's the Sharks versus Rabbitohs and Eagles versus Melbourne. I think they're the only decent games. They're the only good games to start. But overall, I think the round 1 draw for my one was great, if I was in charge. But for the actual round 1 for next year, I think it's alright. But anyways, that will come towards the end of the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more videos, as I've got plenty more videos coming out within the next couple of weeks. The next video we'll be releasing is the South Sydney Rabbitohs 2020 NRL season review. That should be coming out tomorrow or Tuesday. Anyways, I'll see you in the next ones. Take care.